am I? You're recording. Okay, so now we've started. So again, this is just for chapter 6, quiz, retake. If you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask me. Otherwise, I'm going to be reviewing chapter 6 concepts. So, number 1, and I've got the answer down here highlighted, and it says find EG. EG is from here to here. So you'll notice this is a right triangle. Both of the hypotenuse are 14, and this is a right triangle, so we know that they are congruent, which makes EF 6.1 also. That means that's a bisector. But if you want to do EG, that means it's both EF and FG. So that's why it's 6.1 plus 6.1, which is 12.2. Okay. Normally, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I don't think you're sharing the screen.
Yeah, you're not sharing.
All right, let's start over. Now, can you see it?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, Echo. All right, maybe I'll try to edit that part out. So that's what I was talking about, this triangle, right? From E to G is what it says to find. So I'm going to bet that if you got this one wrong, you probably put 6.1, which is EF, but it was asking for both of these, so you would add those together. Okay, so that answer was 12.2. Thank you so much. And so we'll just go through each question like that. Again, the concept here is mid-segment. So it's saying that DE is a mid-segment of ABC. Find the value of X. So if this is 7 from here to here, then this is twice as much. So mid-segment is half as much. So 7 times 2, which would give you X, is 14. And that's all you have to know, is that's like a definition. Okay. Plus, you can kind of tell it looks like halfway. That's number 2. Number 3, the concepts here was list the angles in order from smallest to largest. Smallest to largest. So the relationship is the smallest side is across from the smallest angle. So LK is across from angle J. That's going to be your smallest. So the first, and you just drag these around. So the first one is angle J. The second one is 13, because that's the number in the middle. And so 13 is across from angle K. That's going to be the middle one. And the longest is 15, which is across from angle L, and that's going to be your largest. That's the concept, okay, that we are going to repeat throughout the chapter. And just when you're doing big ideas, make sure that you drag them in the correct order that it says. Because if it says largest to smallest, you'd be exactly wrong. Right? About 21. Okay, I'll let you know when you're done. Yeah. That should be fine. Yeah. Yep. Okay, this is the same question, but with angles instead of sides. So since I don't have this third angle labeled, I'm going to have to figure that out. So 112 plus 31 is 143. So let's see, that's 10 minus 3, 7 minus 4. Okay, so that means this one here is 37. So that's going to be between 31 and 112. 31 is the smallest angle, which means EF will be the smallest side. So the shortest side. So that's why EF is 1. Then you get angle F is the middle. So that's going to be across from DE. That's why DE is number 2. And then 112 is obviously the largest, and that's across from DF. So there you go. 1, 2, 3. Again, it's just read those directions. Now this one is, there's 2 of these, And this is a review of algebra. So this concept came with writing an equation. There's three steps. If you want to write a perpendicular bisector, first you have to get the perpendicular, then you have to get the bisector, and third you can write the equation. So here's our endpoints. I'm going to start with finding the perpendicular. In fact, I'll say, let me just do n here. If you don't remember the slope formula, remember it's the y's on the top. So it's going to be y minus -1 over 4 minus -8. The y's over the x's. The y's over the run. 5 minus -1 is going to be 6. 4 minus -8 is going to be 12. So this is going to be 1/2. Now, this is the regular one. So then the perpendicular slope, remember, is going to be whatever you have to multiply this by to get a product of -1, which means the negative reciprocal. So there's your slope. That's the first step. Second step, we're going to look for the bisector. The bisector is the midpoint. So hopefully you remember, the midpoint is just the middle of these two x's and the middle of these two y's. So it's going to be -8 plus 4 over 2, that's my x's, and -1 plus 5 over 2, those are my y's. So let's see, -8 plus 4 is -4, divided by 2 is going to be -2. This one will be +4, divided by 2 is +2. So we use this slope and this midpoint to write the equation. And you can do it with either the slope-intercept or the point slope. I like the point slope. So I do y minus this y equals the slope times x minus this x. I distribute my -2. And I'm going to add 2 to both sides to get that away. And so there's my correct answer. So I'm not sure if you did make a mistake on that. There's a number of different places you can make a mistake. If you're clear and concise and careful, you should be able to arrive at that as well. And if you never learned it in Algebra 1, that's okay. Learn it now. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and switch pages on that. Hopefully you're looking at your quiz at the same time on a different window and seeing what maybe, if any, mistakes you made. Even one little sign is going to mess that up. Okay, so. Sorry. All right. Number 6 is the trickiest one to draw. I'm not great about this, but it was in the video. It was also in your notes. It was specifically the same exact question. Okay, so it looks something like that. Okay, and this is just a rough sketch. But basically, you've got 2 different groups, and this one's going 130 miles this way, and then they turn, or I think it's upside down, but the point is they turn 24 degrees and they go 45 miles. The other group goes 32 degrees and goes 45 miles. So the question is, who flies further from the airport? So if this one goes 24 and this one goes 32, this is what I'm saying, is my picture's not great. Okay. Then what you have to do is think about the opposite. Okay. Group A is going to be opposite 32 degrees. And group B is going to be opposite 24 degrees. So who do you think will go further? The one with the bigger degrees. Okay. So when they make these triangles, which I'm terrible at this, but again, it's in the video, group A is going to be further because group A is across from that 32 degrees. And since it was an example exactly from the book in our notes, that's why there's only one in there. All right. Number 7 is another question exactly the same about the sides. So again, you're going to go from shortest to longest. You just have to figure out what this angle is first. So 64 and 53 is going to be 117. 110 plus 7, 117. So let's figure out that's going to be 3, 7. Okay, so this angle here is going to be 63. Okay. So the shortest side is going to be across from the smallest angle. That means AC is first. So look, all of those are no longer possibilities. The second shortest side is 63. And so this is going to be AB. And then the longest is across from 64, which is BC. That relationship holds for each one. Now, I got to erase this for this next one. And I told you for sure this would be on the quiz. Told you for sure. All right. Now, a triangle has side length 26 and another side length of 18. Select all the possible lengths of the third side. There are 4 of these 9 possibilities. If you even choose one wrong, it marks it wrong. You know, maybe partial credit, but it is computer scored. So you have sides of 18, 26, and X. All right. There's 2 possibilities, just like we did in the notes. Either X is the shortest one or X is the largest one. So if X is the shortest one, then you can write that X plus 18 has to be greater than 26. If X is the biggest one, then you can write X has to be less than 18 plus 26. So this is smallest possibility, and this is largest. Because any 2 sides have to be bigger than the third side. Well, for this one, I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides, and I get X has to be bigger than 8. And for this one, I get X has to be less than 44. So then you just have to look at these numbers and choose which ones are greater than 8. That's why 8 doesn't count. And less than 44. 44 doesn't count. So 10, 12, 26, and 34 are the problems that are between these parameters. Again, that was straight out of the notes that we did, as well as on 2 different videos. So if you don't want to miss that again on Monday, study up, see what you did. Okay? All right, 6. Number 6 is the hinge theorem, where is at the end we talked about if you have a side congruent to another side, a second side congruent, and the interior angles between them, or the included angles. If you have this situation, then 1 being across from 50 is going to be smaller than 2, which is across from 52. 50 is less than 52, so angle 1 is less than angle 2, which is that first answer. That's the hinge theorem. That's just what it states. Okay? So since 50 is less than 52, 1 is less than 2. Angle measurement. Again, we have a perpendicular bisector, just different numbers, so 3 steps. Perpendicular, then bisector, then equation. Okay, so let's start with the slope, which is 2 minus 10, the y's, over the x's. And that's going to reduce, let's see, they both are divided by -4, so that'll be 2 over 3, which means our perpendicular slope, again, whatever you have to multiply this by to get a product of -1, which most everybody thinks of as an opposite reciprocal. Then we do our midpoint. So we add our x's together. And we divide by 2. And we add our y's together. And we divide by 2. So let's see, 8 plus negative 4 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 plus 2 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Okay, so now we have a slope, we have a midpoint, and now we write our equation, which again, I like the point slope formula. So I do y minus 6, because that's 6, equals my slope, x minus 2. And then I write it all out here. So y minus 6 equals, this is going to be negative 3 over 2x. And then negative 3 over 2 times negative 2 is going to give me plus 3. I add 3 to both, sorry, I add 6 to both sides to get rid of that. And there, I've got my correct answer. So again, 3 steps, plenty of places to make just the tiniest error, but you can all be careful and write out your work and get that too. We have 2 more to go over. Questions while I'm doing this? While I'm turning it over? Okay. This is a review of the mid-segment theorem. A window pane connecting the midpoints of 2 sides of a triangular window is represented by AB in the figure. The measurements shown are in millimeters. Find the length of the window pane. So what it's asking you is to find AB. We know that if this is the midpoint, and it says it is, and these are equal, then AB is going to be half of 1042. Which is 521. Okay. And last, number 12 is a proof. You should be able to do proofs at this point, and you just sort of drag and drop. Remember, you're given that you have these 2 triangles right here that have these angles. You're also given that AD, this side right here, is bigger than CD. So any angles opposite, meaning say here and here, are going to also have that same relationship. But what you have to do is first, in order to use that theorem, you have to show that these triangles are congruent. Okay, so let's go through those steps. The first one is always given. The second one, you're going to say that BC is congruent to BA, which is right here. Sorry, it's this one and this one, because you were given that these base angles were the same. So when you see converse of the base angles theorem, it gives you this and this. That's BC is congruent to BA. And then, because you have this, and I always tell you if something's connected, use it. So the next one is BD is congruent to BD by the reflexive property. And then last, you can say that this angle is greater than this angle by the converse of the hinge theorem. The converse of the hinge. So you should be prepared to do a proof at any time. Again, questions now.